Okay guys, this is a table I'm doing for a friend of mine. This will be his dining room table, and we're going to do epoxy in a hammered copper and blue finish that should look like it's tarnished copper when it's done. But for now, what we have to do is we're going to use spray paint to go over the edges. On the edges here, if you don't cover these edges, the epoxy runs over and it'll get thin right here. And just in case it gets too thin that you can see through, you want some kind of coating underneath there just to give it some visual interest if it goes all the way, if you can see all the way through it. So we'll get started on that. Nothing too much. Just in case it goes all the way through, you want something to peek through instead of just that black paint and primer in one. This is just I'm going to make a vein of blue going through here. That'll really set this thing off. All right, so we're getting ready to pour. This goes on 3 ounces per square foot. And you apply it, just dump it on there. Once you're done dumping it, you scrape it out with a square notch trowel and it self-levels. There we go. Okay, see how we have all these trowel marks in there? What we're gonna do is chop that out with a brush. It'll get rid of all those trowel marks and make it look really cool. See how that's feathered out now? Doesn't have the trowel marks. See what I was talking about? How sometimes it gets really thin and you can see through. That's why we put that color underneath. And there's those big blue veins I wanted to put in. And we're gonna chop this into it and it's gonna feather it in together. It's gonna look really cool, I think. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing here. You see these little indentations that looks like hammered metal? What I do is I take this black spray paint, dust it on there, because it was looking a little too light. I dust it on there, and then I take a mixture of the copper metallic dust, and 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I squirt it on there. And what it does is it fractures that out. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's a really cool look. But I think I'm gonna let it do its thing, because it'll keep moving and start looking a lot more organic. And we'll come and check it out here in a little bit. Sorry about that. Forgot about y'all again. Let's show you what I did here is I just scuffed up the surface with 220 grit sandpaper, and that is going to give the top coat or flood coat something to grab onto whenever we pour it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that mixed up for you guys. Alright guys, we're just going to do the same process here with our clear, going over the actual product here. We're going to go 3 ounces per square foot, just like when we were doing color. We're going to trowel it out with that square notch trowel and then chop it with a brush. And then we'll start hitting it with a heat gun and it'll bust all these bubbles. I'll set you guys up here so y'all can watch. Pardon my mess. See how that looks like milk? That's all the bubbles that we put in there with the drill. But it'll come out crystal clear, trust me. When I do this part, I like to get it right to the edge, but I don't like to go over the edge until I'm ready for it to start dripping over. Now, do you have to do a top coat? Not necessarily. Some of the color techniques we used will come to the surface and it'll create a weird texture on there, and this will get rid of that. But also this is gonna create way more depth than we had. And in case y'all didn't know, or you're not following, the weather turned a little bit colder here, so this epoxy is thicker and it's going to take longer to set up for us. But it'll still work its magic. Remember, we're doing this chopping motion here to get rid of them trowel marks. But another added benefit is it'll do another mix on the epoxy, just in case there's some you missed, so you don't get a little soft spot somewhere. You'll see all these little ridges and bumps that I'm putting in here with the chopping motion. It's fine. This epoxy will self-level itself because it has such a long working time. Make sure you run your brush over the edges. Running the brush over the edges will get that edge wet with epoxy, and it'll help all the rest of it flow over the sides. I'll get this heat gun heated up, and I'll show you how these bubbles will pop out. It'll take a couple tries. Okay, the trick here is not to overheat the epoxy. So we heated it up, some of them bubbles came out. We'll let it set for a while. Let some more of them bubbles come to the surface and we'll pop them again. Slowly coming along. It's time consuming, but it's worth it. Just don't get discouraged and don't overheat the epoxy. Okay, probably about 90 something percent of those bubbles are gone. We're gonna let it cool off, let this epoxy move, and bubbles will come to the top. We'll probably torch it out one more time, and then after that we're just gonna let it do its thing. But you see how flat it's laying out, you see the reflection of everything. It's just gonna come out like glass. This is gonna be a good one, guys. Okay, here it is, guys. We hit it one more time with the heat gun. All the bubbles are out, and you can see that it's laid out like glass with all the reflections. I wish you could see all the depth of the colors in here, but I think this guy's gonna be really happy with it, him and his daughter. And thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, suckers.